she's just got to turn.
Okay.
Good. All right, Chair Gary Delvaux.
Here.
Vice Chair Matt Schuler as to be excused. Alderperson Barbara Dorff.
Here.
Jim Woolmerick.
Here.
Here.
And Melanie Karma has to be excused.
All right. Motion approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
The motion of Jim and Barb. All those in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. Approval of minutes, we got a couple of minutes here. We got the May 8th and May 31st. I'm hoping everybody had a chance to glance at those. I'll accept the motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Do we need to?
Do you want to separate them up?
Do we need to separate them up? Okay.
Okay.
They're both
Move to
good.
approve the minutes for the May 31st and May 8th, 2018 meetings.
And there's a
Second.
second by Kathy. All those in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
So carried. Motion carried. All right. Regular business. Deb, big deal.
All right.
Here.
Is there a presentation? I can get to the folder and then can throw that up. Please, thank you. All right, so today we are going to be talking about a development agreement for the Shipyard on West Mason Street and all the assorted properties around there that are listed here in the agreement. This is a project that we're not a stranger to, and so what I'd like to do is just give a little presentation talking about where we've been, where we intend to go, and then the development agreement that's here before you today. So I've got a few slides I'm just going to talk about, and I stand, so I'm going to move around. So we're back talking about the Shipyard, and again, I think it's really important to remember that this is a comprehensive redevelopment plan for the South Broadway corridor. And I think it's important for us to retain our discussions about 4 different components in here. So the south side of the slip, the north side of the slip, the areas, the businesses along Broadway, and then the neighborhood to the west. So going through, initially our proposal hinged on construction of an outdoor event center on the south side. And I think there was the understanding that it was going to be the city who was going to be taking the lead in terms of saying, look, we care about this area, we're going to invest in this area, that really would drive, the additional development coming forward. So we had a project, we had some partners, and then we had some partners that obviously left us and felt though, one of the things I went back to during that time was, this slide. And, our team went out into the neighborhood, talked with the residents, they talked with the business owners, and these things came up that I felt were really important about positive impact for that area. I mean, almost 100%. I mean, you can ask the mayor, right? 100%, you never get 100% in anything, but 88% felt that that project was going to bring something positive to the neighborhood. Positive things like more people present. We want more people at our businesses. We want more people, at our restaurant or at our bar in our neighborhood. We want more families in this neighborhood. If there's things to do, we want them to be part of that neighborhood. And really, improving a neighborhood image that's been stagnant for 30 plus years. So with that, and we had some discussions immediately, preceding that, and we talked about, all right, we should move forward with something. And how do we do that? Well, RDA gave their consent and council approval to move forward, work with the consultant, and figure out, okay, we're not going to build another baseball stadium. Schwab-Adan's pursuing that. What should we do with this area? What should we bring to this site to do here? So we talked to 3 different firms and solicited some ideas for kind of a request for proposals and what services they could offer to help us through this. We ended up moving forward with Cunningham Group, one of their principals, Andrew Dresner, and they put forward, working with us, our team, development team, some of our staff, a proposal to look at, okay, what should we do in this area? So I just wanted to go through some of the things that were discussed with the consultant and then what's being proposed today. So obviously the Shipyard site, we're talking about the south parcel as it is right now in the context that it's in. Some of the important objectives, in terms of this design principle and goals, it's creating an attraction that draws people and draws people year round. Drawing them to the waterfront, activities, interaction, excitement, really creating this unique destination. It's important that we connect to the Broadway district. Again, as we've talked about, with the rail yard pushing the Broadway district north, bringing it further south down to Mason Street, and this is a big part of it. It's creating a third destination. We've got the city deck, the main core of the Broadway area, now on this south side, kind of triangulate some other things to do when you're downtown. It's helping to complete the loops. It's early on, but one of the things here is to dedicate that waterfront space to the public, just like we have on the east side, on the west side, getting a trail access and then being able to connect eventually up to the western the Hanger Trail and the Mountain Bay Trail, and then also extending the city to the water. There's limited access to the waterfront for west side residents, and so here's a way to really start to allow them to access our great waterfront. This is what the Shipyard is, and this is what we think about when we talk about the Shipyard. And I think it's really important, and this goes back to before me about our downtown plan, authenticity. And it's about being authentic to what we are. We are on a working river. So I think it's really important that we recognize and celebrate that we have a working river. And some of those images from the city or other areas that have working rivers or working ports, those are things that should be incorporated into the site. We also know that, look, rivers change, cities change, industry changes, and sometimes those industrial spaces don't serve the functions that they originally intended to do. But it's important to honor and respect some of their legacy and incorporate them into what's next. So looking at some communities around the country and around the globe of what they're starting to do with these old industrial spaces and how they look at repurposing them in the future. And then the waterfront. Successful waterfronts have some key features in them. There's buildings there, so there's people, whether that's offices or residents. They're easily accessible, no matter if you're coming on the ground or through the water. You just want to go to the water itself. It's just a natural attraction. Providing basic comforts, just places to sit, places in shade, activities around the clock throughout the year. I think that's really important. Initially, talking maybe about some baseball games and sporting events, I think let's look beyond that and how can we get people here year-round or at other different times. Being flexible, and I think the opportunity to grow into a space, providing a first phase, and then looking at what can we do next in the future? How do we continually arrange or improve to make it better, and being adaptable, and then again going back to that authenticity that we're showcasing our local identity. You want somebody to go down here and be in their mind that there is no doubt this is 100% Green Bay, Wisconsin, and so I think that's important that there's nothing else like this. The other piece, we also talked about in terms of activation and getting spaces is, pop-up space. And pop-up space may be a newer term, some bootstrapping or startup, but an opportunity for, us to use the space in a variety of different ways, or ways maybe we haven't thought of, or juxtapose some things. We've got, Chelsea and Brian working on Ignite this upcoming weekend. It's a pop-up event in a space where you wouldn't normally kind of think of having events. I think it's a really good opportunity to get people down there and see the site and see, all right, these are some of the things that could be happening just literally feet away on the waterfront in the future. So again, going back to that adaptability and flexibility. So this is what we have come up with. Through some months of discussion with our consultant and our team here. I just wanted to go through and highlight a few of the things that we feel are really important that make this a signature piece in the city of Green Bay. So first I want to talk about the athletic space, the field space over here. And so that field still consumes a decent amount of the space, but we felt by removing baseball from the equation, it gave us more room to work on some other things, which I'll talk about in a minute. But what we felt is, look, we looked at other stadiums that have, kind of this waterfront feel, this enclosed feel, things that, take advantage of this grass berm seating so that when there's not a sporting event going on, it's still a very comfortable place to go and hang out and have a picnic or just people watch. To have things we talked about earlier, synthetic turf. Let this spring be like really good reason why you'd want to do synthetic turf on a field. We couldn't use a lot of our park facilities because we didn't have that option. So to have something that could be used earlier in the spring or later in the fall, and for a variety of different playing surfaces and something that cleans up fast and is resilient. And then also, again, multifunctional, whether it's for different types of sports or can still be programmed for these bigger events, these festivals, these concerts. So if you look at one of the initial renderings, this is something in terms of what we're looking at, having that field there, having some geometric angular grass berms, some shade structures, again, to provide people for both when there's events going on and not going on in that area, making really good use of that space. The second piece I want to talk about is kind of the wedge in the middle. And what that features is really a very active and commercial area. And so some of the things that we talked about originally with this is, okay, well, what else, if you're not going to a sporting event, what else could you do, and what other things could be going on, down in this area? So going back to the pop-up space and the startup space, proposing building what we'll call a container park. And a container park is just taking old shipping containers and repurposing them into cool space, to retail space, to beverage space, to recreation space or food space. And these are places that you can put together and initially start seasonally or moving year-round. These are the places that existing establishments can look. I've got my one-off location, or for those who are starting up, a place to go try it out before you go invest heavily in bricks and mortar. And I think one of the things that's also cool, and the mayor's talked about this as well, some of these also can be experiential, where it's not just like, okay, you go buy some food, but you learn how it's processed, you learn more about the people, and really, connecting to people in our community who may not have, the resources to go open up their own restaurant or their own spot, but an entry-level way to be able to get in and offer those amenities to the community and try it out. And look, maybe it works for a season, maybe it takes off, maybe they stay here, or maybe they move into their own type of space. But, we really feel, and again, kind of that flexible space is, looking at these opportunities to, program that and have a vibrant marketplace. Also in this area, I think it's important to commit to building a permanent structure that houses restrooms, showers, lockers, concessions, things that can service the athletic field, things that can service this area and here, things that can service the waterfront, things that can help year-round, that there's just a permanent structure for that. But then also, a stage, climbing structure, some flex space. Again, that can have these smaller concerts. Maybe it's not the big 8,000 person concert in the field itself, but here's a smaller space for just kind of everyday music, local musicians, to, again, provide entertainment, action, activity in that area. The last piece of this is, okay, what to do with the waterfront. And we really went and looking at this area here, how do we get as many different user groups down to the water? And I think we look at City Deck and things that we provide on there, and then who it draws and how it's programmed. What can we do that complements City Deck, and what can we do that adds new? And so in some of these things, they're looking at features, a splash pad, some shaded seating, playground, looking at things that are modern and artistic, and then an urban beach. Juxtaposing. I know we're working on Bay Beach and having the beach out there, but here's something just totally different in a very urban industrial setting. Sand, chairs, spots to hang out, for kids to play, or adults, I don't know, I like sand castles too. But just another different environment that, again, provides a wide user base down here. And it's places where, look, you can go to have fun, whether you're an adult, a couple, a family, anything in between. There's lots of different activities in which you can engage in. And if you're not happy with what you're doing, you can go do something else. Going back to the pop-up nature, these are things that, again, just are amenities that are very different than what we have anywhere else in the community. But again, provide that draw for people to get down to this area. So, looking at the proposal, again, also some, bench swings along the river, watching the waterfront. Also discussing, the importance of having water access. And again, getting engaged with the boating community of, look, people are coming, traveling, using the river. They like getting off at City Deck and they like patronizing, the establishments there. We want them to do the same thing here. Again, also getting down to the water, I think it's important to get a spot where you can get down to the water and touch the water. And also areas for, whether you have those mini toy sailboats, kayaks, or, canoes, whether you're learning how to do it or actually going out. There's a lot of opportunity for mixing that in this area. So overall, this is the concept plan and how it lays out. And this is something, and I'll talk about a little bit more, that really is our first phase. And I think we did it in a way that really sets the bar towards, doing something cool in the future, and doesn't box us into anything in particular, that there's some flexibility for moving forward, depending on what the pace of development might be. We think, given what we're providing, an asset that people haven't seen before, we think we're going to move forward pretty quickly on it. But depending what type of development comes, I think there's some flexibility to make it fill what's there. Just potential uses we talked about, and I know James and Dan from Parks are here. After the our last partner left, we had a lot of people actually come to us and say, look, if they're not going to play there, there's opportunities. We're looking for a home. We want a spot to play. We can't find field space. We're willing to come here, and use your facility. And so we talked first, about all the different uses, and I think that was a decision in terms of, going with a rectangular field versus more of a diamond shape. And, cutting down to the rectangular field gives you that space to do all those other things, but you can still do a ton of stuff there. And you can still do a ton of things on the waterfront. And with that, a number of the groups that we've talked to, and have come back with, ideas. Obviously, there's us, for the city, Redevelopment Authority, the neighborhoods be using that space. But we have these, semi-pro teams that are out there in football. The Brown County Blackjacks, Fox Valley Forest. Look, they're looking for new homes. They really think this is be an awesome spot to play. A very premier facility that offers a great experience for their players, but their guests and their families. Other soccer teams, and again, working with other groups that are existing in our community, giving them a place to play, giving them a place to recreate, and again, another reason that starts to draw people down to this area. All in, proposed budget, we're looking at about a $10 million project, with the uses about $1.2 million for property acquisition. This is outlined in the development agreement, which includes some of those properties between Broadway and the railroad track, and also the acquisition of Badger Sheet Metal. That would provide some long-term development opportunities for us. Budgeting about $800,000 for design and then about $8 million for construction. Part of the thought of the process was to approve a development agreement now and look, city's committed to moving forward, to talk to some of our other partners who have been interested in developing this area, that we want to do this. And if that moves forward, to look at borrowing this summer of about $2 million to help us with the acquisition and then design. And to go through then, all right, based on that design, to cost out, what are these things going to cost? Have a better discussion, with the community and then our staff about, okay, what items should we do and at what timing, what should be the priorities for doing those things, and then set us a timetable to get those things done. We'll look at $9.5 million for public financing, $500,000 from the stadium district. Look, other sources, I'm not going to overcommit for federal, state resources, but I think we've had some really good conversations. We have a good track record of getting grants, and I think putting out, whether that's recreation, whether that's brownfields, whether that's harbor, they know that this is coming, and once we make our commitment, again, like us, they can't make the commitment for us, but promise to make this a priority to help with that funding to get things rolling. I think one of the things that we've also looked at in terms of development, the proposal remains the same to some earlier proposals, and that is we would create a new tax district in this area. We would use future development to fund the construction of this. The numbers still remain about the same, that we need about $30 million worth of development within the next 8 years to decade to keep this totally off the levy. And based on, again, City Deck and what happened in the years past, 30 million of development there, we feel we can keep that in those parameters. In addition to some of the things, tenant spaces that you're using, or people who are going to be using it to generate revenue, basically to cover maintenance and operations costs. We really felt it's important that we're building an asset for the city and not a liability, and so something that's going to generate revenue to cover its costs. Also, committing to the neighborhood. That has not changed one bit. It's very important. Again, we've talked about before, the per square foot value of the properties in this neighborhood, 80% of them are below our city average. We need to invest in this neighborhood. And our team's been going out and proactively looking at, okay, who can we help? Where's homeowners where, look, some small investments, whether it's a porch, a roof, or other things like that, can contribute some money and help them gain some value in their products. Other places where, look, we may need some new products going in here. And so the funding, $1 million over the next 3 years, or from the execution of this agreement, from our neighborhood enhancement funds, which we're going to talk about later today, but then continuing also targeting some block grant and home funding in this area. Again, mixed-use redevelopment. The north side of the parcel, when we talked about this before, there were a number of parties who came out and said, look, city, you do something, we'll invest in this area. We want to be here. You go first, and then we'll follow behind. We continue to have some good talks with some of the developers about pursuing those options. I think we're getting pretty close. That's something this summer could be coming through, and I think a statement for us making a commitment might help push that forward into some private development. I think it's one thing important in terms of, look, all right, we just kind of, how can you fit a building in here, and how much space can you have? There's room there. There's room there today, and then there's room to grow, both on this site and overall in the development. One of the things we talked about, look, maybe we don't have a tenant right now that's going to draw 5,000, 10,000 people a night, but we built this, and in a few years, soccer leagues expand, rugby leagues expand, some other things expand, and they come to us and say, look, we're looking for a place to play, can we work on it? There's room to turn this field into a full-on stadium, with bleachers, boxes, and other things like that. If the container park takes off really well, or we just need more space down here, we can work on plans to start filling in maybe the back of a slip and then get some more development space in there. These parking lots that are in the back here, those are building pads. Those, are just things short-term, maybe some parking, but long-term, we can go in and get structures in there. And then also, on the north side, there's a lot of room for development, which pushes then on to, okay, well, once we're off this site, looking at Broadway and some of the things, again, we've considered in this piece, acquiring Badger sheet metal, almost 4 acres that can serve as a development site, maybe serve some short-term needs in terms of storage or parking, but long-term also a development opportunity. And again, it's all looked at like as you start to push back into Broadway, into the neighborhood, there's a number of sites that are primed for that redevelopment. So with that though, all that starts with an investment today in the shipyard. And I think what we brought before you and what you tasked us with working on over these last few months was to come back with a comprehensive plan, to come back with something that's new, innovative, exciting, to come back with something that's fiscally responsible. And I think we've put a lot of work into doing that. And so with that, present the development agreement before you today. And so thank you. And I don't know, Mayor, if there's anything else that you wanted to say, just don't move this project forward.
This project, this is good. It's scalable, flexible. It's unique. There's nothing like it in Northeast Wisconsin, and we like that. There's a lot of upside to taking this on.
I'm just gonna make a generalized comment. When you look at that boat slip and the property around it, it's definitely a diamond in the rough. There's absolutely no question about it. Tremendous potential. It's up to us, the city council staff, to maximize that potential. It's there. There's no question in my mind. But anyway, a couple of questions besides that. This 9.5 million, is that just for phase 1, or you see that those dollars being carried through beyond that?
So that would look at phase 1 and things outlined in the development agreement. In short, it kind of outlines this piece here in terms of getting the athletic field done, okay. Container park, the splash pad, beach, playground, some physical improvements around there in terms of helping out with some of the infrastructure and some of the parking. I think one of the things that we looked at is, kind of phasing of spending the money, spending some good work on design to really get a look at, okay, what's going to be the best bang for our buck in terms of, okay, should we spend money on, beefing up the playground equipment a little more, or maybe putting in, concrete parking versus asphalt parking. I think, once we start costing those out, but we feel that budget, gets most of this done, right, and gets that first phase taken off.
And what makes this whole is the $30 million private investment, which we've done in the past, you know, on the east side. Mayor, what do you think, potential of that $30 million?
Yeah, and that's not a huge number for the city.
No.
And we've talked to housing, we've talked to a business that's very interested in this. Yeah, we're confident that if the city steps up like we did on the city deck, that, you know, we're gonna see private investment, you know. Mark Stogan's he didn't go anywhere, you know?
Right.
Still
Right.
we're still looking at it. You know, and then there's so many, there's so much data to support this in terms of millennials and where people want to live and walkable and have, you know, pets and redo the housing, and there's just a whole lot of, I just get back from a mayor's conference in Boston, and, you know, they'd kill to have a shipyard. I mean, that is what people
Right.
want, and that's what they're looking toward, and it can be active. Seniors too, you know, it doesn't have to be all 27-year-olds, and it's just very, very cool space that we don't have, and yeah, I feel very confident. The $30 million of development, yeah, Mr. Chairman, we feel very good that we'll land something this year.
Well, one thing that excites me is that it's gonna make the west shore of the Fox River as dynamic as the east shore. Maybe even more so with this project, so that's very exciting. But I'll open up to the committee for questions and then comments.
So this agreement is between the city and the RDA then?
Correct.
Right.
So much like the earlier, in this instance, instead of having a separate entity manage the facility, it would be the RDA and the city doing this, having some discussions with our park staff. We feel like, look, the athletic facility as it's proposed, that's something that can fit in our wheelhouse of managing it just like as another facility in terms of, you know, booking teams and working on events and getting that into the calendar and maintenance and operations. Those things could start to fit in our scope. One of the things we've discussed is, okay, for the container park and the businesses, in terms of managing that, either, and I think with approvals, then we look at two options. One of, you know, do we look at building in some costs of hiring somebody part-time to get that off the ground? Or do we look at it like an organization like on Broadway to partner with, you know, much like we do with downtown to program the city deck, you know, or somebody else out there, you know, PMI was one of the pieces that we've talked to about concerts, you know, to work on that piece, because that's a little bit newer territory for us. So that piece, though, still retains inside of us, so that's why it's the RDA and the city agreeing to do this.
In our previous agreement, previous talks about, we're gonna be giving up some of the naming rights, if I remember correctly. In this case, we're not. In other words, those dollars, if we did get some naming rights, would go back to this project.
Correct. We would retain 100% control over everything. I think that's something, you know, to have some discussions about. I think in terms of, you know, the balance between, you know, having a public amenity and other, you know, parts of it or
Yeah,
features of
sure.
it that you'd want to
Sure.
look at fundraising money. You know, none of that was contemplated directly in this agreement, but I
Right.
think that's one of those things, if we say, look, we're committed to doing this, then during that design phase, the time for us to go out and do some fundraising or secure some grants and really cut down ultimately, you know, the amount that we'd have to borrow or replace, you know, against debt.
Bart?
Are we still considering a partnership, like with Green Bay Schools and West High School, the field? I know that was, okay.
Yep, I know, James, you want to talk to that a little more? I know we've talked with them in terms of facilities, especially, you know, West for sure. But then just, again, the whole district, I think there's an opportunity to partner to get additional events and use out of that area.
Good.
I don't know if you have anything else?
Yes, Dave.
Okay.
School district's on board, not just soccer, but football and rugby, lacrosse, you know, many different sports, many different uses, you know, all the way from high school down through middle school also.
Okay.
I mean, so there's a lot of potential for, schools are definitely on board with this project.
Thank you.
So assuming this is approved, when does the TIF district start? And I'm assuming it's all taxes over 27 years then, above the current assessment?
Sure. So depending on where the private development piece comes in, we would look at creating a new tax increment district, either starting 1/1 of this year or 1/1 of next year. And I think the goal with that is, look, we want to capture maximum value or maximum increment. It doesn't pay for us to start the district, you know, if we aren't going to have a project coming online and coming on board and creating increment. But once we create that district, and I think that's a discussion to have in terms of like what are the right pieces to have that we feel the development are going to happen within the foreseeable future. You know, I think initially we talked about this big wide swath TIF district. Well, we just want to be a little careful that we want to provide some opportunities, but look, we can only grow so fast that we get the right properties in that we feel these are the ones that are going to assess in the coming years. But again, like any other TIF district, once it's created, all the taxes that are there right now still can go to the existing entities. The big thing with this right now is really the only taxable parcels considered are Badger sheet metal. Everything else we own and we've owned for 30,
Yep.
35 years. So, I mean,
Too long.
there's nothing going on right now, or in terms of value to the city in terms of taxes.
Okay, and then one other question, is there any limitations on the businesses that can go into container area?
You know,
With as far as if somebody wants food or serving beverages, anything that we would not allow?
I think that's where, you know, moving forward, then we have conversations with like Military on Broadway, you know, downtown Old Main, you know, talk about things that they do when they, you know, have their events and farmers markets, and, you know, what do you want to have there so that, I think you want to have a balance of, you want things that are there that are going to attract people, but you also don't want to be so restrictive that, look, this is what we feel is a very entrepreneurial zone, that somebody should be able to come in and, look, maybe I think it'll be popular, establish a protocol for, look, how we evaluate applications to get into this area. And, you know, we have a handful of food establishments, a handful of beverage establishments, and maybe a handful of retail establishments. I think part of the flexibility, and this comes in the design of the container park, is what do you think we should do from day one in terms of volume? Because you want to give people enough space, but you also want it to feel full. And based on that, I mean, you've seen, I think, speaking for you guys, but I mean, you've seen how your farmers markets have taken off and the waiting list and the demand to get in. I think we'd like to create that sort of demand here. And again, I mean, I think we need to be as open as possible to getting these small business owners who, you know, can't afford the bricks and mortar a spot to start up.
And then one last question, do we build into this the connection of the trail on the west side? Is that part of the project downtown?
So I think,
You talked
Okay.
about it.
Yeah.
so-
Yep, so one of the things that's really important for us in the city, and I kind of feel is almost like non-negotiable, is, you know, this area down here is all public, but any private development, at least the first 50, 75 feet back from the water is public. And so that's, you know, space eventually that, look, it's time to get a trail back down, you know, all the way along this side of the waterfront, just like we do here. And I think the other piece is looking at, you know, there's still a few active rail lines in here, but as we acquire, you know, Badger and, you know, some of the properties in here, okay, now we're that much closer to Seymour Park and the old CN Rail Yard down here, you know, we look at making sure that we build those pieces in to connect back to the trail west. So I think that's a big important part
That's
that,
important.
you know, the consultant talked about is you want to make it as easy as possible to get there. So I think in terms of preserving that public nature, that's what we intend to do.
Is the container park a year-round thing, or is it more like summers?
I think we would build it to be year-round. And I think, you know, part of the first year is going to be figuring out volume, that maybe in the winter, I don't know if it's every day in the winter, but, you know, like, you know, a lot of European communities have their Christmas market, or maybe just like 2 weeks it's open every night. Or in terms of, you know, putting a sheet of ice out there for skating or hockey, maybe then it's in the weekends, or, you know, 4 days a week. I think we want to expand as best as possible. So I would build it, of course, to be year-round, and then we'll just kind of work and see how it works itself out.
Kevin, just a question. This differs from how we first approached this, in that this is really going to be operated under the city, as opposed to, you know, having contracts with firms to come in and run, you know, baseball operation or a restaurant and so on. So to some extent, we were putting the onus on those developers to do that.
Yes.
Now the onus is on us. So in that respect, when you went out and, hired this firm to look at this kind of operation, did they have experience with some municipalities that did likewise?
Yes.
And?
Well, I think one of the things we looked at too is, in terms of negotiations, I mean, we did talk to maybe another entity that had looked at maybe the same type of operations as the Bullfrogs is coming in as a master tenant. But I think just in terms of what they're proposing and costs and other things, just didn't quite add up and maybe put us at a little more risk.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we really tried to go for is, something that we can grow into and to provide something, and that's why I think it was important to talk, to James and Dan to say, I don't want to make any assumptions of, for parks like, okay, well, you can just go ahead and do this and we'll be fine. And I think where we talked about, like, maybe the gap is part of with that container park, and so how do we address that up front? But to get it up and running, this may be a good business opportunity that somebody in a year or two comes in and says, I'll run it for you, and I'll do a fee, and just, but again, because there's nothing like this around here, it's not like we have an operator who's gonna come, over from another community and say like, yeah, we'll do your park here, because we're doing one, down in Appleton. And so I think the consultant was pretty aware of that and helped us build in, the phasing plan. I think the first rendering we got, we were like, oh my gosh, this is awesome and it's beautiful, but it's like, this is a $100 million project, and that's not what we have. We need to get something off the ground, and I think it's able to do that based on the level of investment that they provide.
Thanks.
One more comment, I guess. To me, this is the part of the city that could use the most help. It's really exciting, and then, but adding to it $1 million to upgrade the housing stock, that's big. I mean, that's those real estate values are the lowest in that area. So I don't know. I'm really excited. I think it's dynamite. If the group wants, we can open the meeting. I don't think it's necessary. We can also go in closed session if you think it's necessary. I don't think it's necessary, but I'll respect it.
I don't know that you got to open the floor, but I think you should hear from the alderman of that district. He's been integral in this
Great.
part. And, that's going to take leadership from the alderman to make this happen, and we finally got that.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to comment on
Yeah,
that. I think you
Brian,
should,
Yeah.
but you've been working this as hard as anybody.
Yeah, I mean, so a couple things I like about this project. One is, and you alluded to it, I mean, this is a heavily underdeveloped neighborhood. I mean, not only from the residential, but the commercial side as well. And the city's sat on this property for 35, 40 years. You've got to do something with it. And when you look at what makes successful communities, successful downtowns, they maximize their riverfront. And this project does just that. To me, it's when you look at a development like this, it's either the investment is good for the community or it's not.
Yes.
And I actually like the fact that this is not tied to other commercial development, because it's ultimately what led to the failure of the last proposal. And so when you look at this, I think, again, we have to take a step back and say, is the investment worth it in our community or not? We look at things like Colburn Pool, we look at things like Bay Beach, we make those investments because we feel that those are quality of life amenities that are community values and they want to see. And what I like about this project in particular is that we have the opportunity to say, we feel that this is a quality of life amenity that we value, and it has the ability to pay for itself. Something that we didn't necessarily see in other previous commitments for other amenities in our community. And so I think that is a very important distinction to make here. If there's one area where I feel that the initial proposal falls short, and I don't think it's something that can't be overcome, when we had discussions with the Bullfrogs as an operator, here you had a facility that, that was proposing to draw nearly 200,000 people down in the district. And Kevin and I have talked about this. The way that it's laid out right now, I don't see it having that same draw. And so that is one area that I would like to see the city staff continue to work on, and I know Kevin is committed to that. We've had that conversation. Is what can we do to either get an operator or some type of league, something on that field that will draw spectators. Because right now, as it stands, I feel like it will draw teams, it will draw participants, it'll draw family and friends maybe to come watch, but it's not the type of facility that will draw thousands of people. It's not to say that it can't be that and it won't get there. And that's what I do like about the phased approach, is that we're not committing that additional funding up front where you're building it in hopes that someone will come along. But I do think that that is an important piece that we need to continue to work towards. This is a great plan. There's just, I think, some tweaks, that I would make, but I think that can come down the road. This is gonna prop up that neighborhood in a way that it desperately needs, and I think the residential investment is really key. We've been working with some other partners besides just the city, that are really gonna not only take that $1 million of investment from the city, but we've got some other partners there that will multiply that investment. But it all starts right here.
Okay.
I tend to agree with that. I don't see the critical mass of ball games bringing a lot of people down as a destination point. But on the flip side, that may be a positive in the long run, to be quite honest. It's a more flexible plan, and I think we'll grow into this. As opposed to, boom, there's a baseball game tonight. What else are we gonna do? So I like it.
I love it.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the development agreement.
I would second.
Barb and Jim, first and second. Any other questions or comments? If not, we will, if not.
Vote on the tabs.
So I have a speaker's button here, huh? All right. Where is it?
What's got to show up?
Oh,
It'll pop up,
okay.
right?
Oh, there we go.
It'll just pop
There.
up. You don't have to give your words up.
All right.
You have to just save it.
All right.
It's awesome.
Yeah, we can use this.
Passed unanimously.
All right, excellent. Way to go, thank you. Thank you. Great comments. Thanks, Kevin, all your hard work, Mayor.
Yep.
All right, excellent. Item number 2, consideration of possible action on term sheet with Green Bay Real Estate Investments LLC for Whitney Park Townhouses, Phase 4 at 827 Cherry Street, 829 Cherry Street, 205 North Van Buren Street, 211 North Van Buren. Tax parcel 10-71, 10-72, 10-72-A, and 10-72-B.
All right.
Yes.
Yep. So what we have for you is a term sheet, and actually the next two projects will be with the same developer, GB Real Estate Investments LLC, represented by Mr. Garrett Bader. This first project is looking at the construction of some townhomes. Call it Phase 4 of the Whitney Park townhomes. This expands, again, our residential options that we've been working on in the Whitney School area. Earlier this year, we approved development agreements to do the apartments and townhomes at Whitney School itself. These next two projects really add to the vibrancy and add to the number of residents that are going to be in this area. With that, we have some term sheets that are coming through that, look, we just want to get some indication from RDA, city, and then developer that there's some general agreement about terms of any potential incentive based on a particular type of project. So what is presented here first is going to be looking at 6 owner-occupied townhomes. 2 stories, full basement, about each 1,400 square feet in size, 2.5 baths, 2-stall garage. The proposed improvements were located on the development agreement. There's a conceptual rendering that shows where these parcels are going to be, and then showing kind of the imagery of what the construction is proposed to look like. I think pushing the envelope a little bit, getting a little more modern than some of the existing products that have been pushed, which is good. With that, we're going to take the property value. Right now, we own some of the property, so there's no value. From $118,000 up to about $826,000. With that, this area is not in a tax increment district. This would fit into a new tax increment district for Whitney School, which has been discussed with the prior Whitney School projects that we would be taking to JRB this summer to create that starting 1/1/18. And with that, they've requested some TIF incentive in order to deal with some site challenges, some redevelopments, some demolitions, and also, again, cost of construction and the gap. We feel this is a good project in terms of, again, some of the things that it does for the city and meeting some of our objectives towards redevelopment and housing products in this area. So the TIF incentive we are proposing today will be a transfer of the parcels that the RDA owns for $1. That's about a $31,000 investment or value for that. And then to do a pay-go on this, which would be 80%. And that would be 80% of the new increment and done until we hit a cap of $150,000. We felt that that would probably be hit, and again, depending on the sales price where these actually come out, probably be hit in about 12 years. So with that, the developer, I believe, is here.
Where else would you be?
Yes, and is available to answer specific questions. At this time, staff recommends approval of the term sheet, and we would work on a development agreement to bring back to you in the coming months.
Entertain a motion to open the meeting for public comment.
So moved.
Second.
Jim and Kathy, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 The floor is yours. Tell us more.
Good afternoon. I'll be brief and just say thank you again for letting me present today. The information Kevin has in front of you I think is fairly self-explanatory, but new housing, continuing what we've done already. We've seen demand for it, people like it. I think in conjunction also with what Quincy and others are doing across the street, just we're continuing to rebuild the neighborhood, so it's exciting to see.
So you're getting a lot of comments that people are looking for this product.
Yeah, I kept my original website active after the first phase. The first 3 phases were done, and without fail, once every 10 to 14 days, there'd be another email ping on.
Well, the project you did by Whitney Park is beautiful.
Thank you.
It really has upgraded that area immensely.
Thanks. I think it changed the perception of what the area can be to a lot of different people, raise the expectation of what we can be.
Questions? Jim?
So right now, the city owns 2 of the parcels, and you would be purchasing the other 2?
Correct. So a total of 4 tax parcels, 2 city-owned or RDA owned, and 2 that are privately owned.
And as you know, Kevin, we like pay as you go. That's great. As far as a tip.
Yeah, and we felt it was important creating a new TID that for these projects, initially, we didn't place any debt against it. So I think that was important for these projects to get the new TID the best start possible.
And I like 12 years too.
Yes.
Yeah, I know that, the percentage seems aggressive, but then the payback is shorter, and I think that's, again, trying to learn lessons that if we can get debts paid off and then things cleared off, there's better opportunities than to close districts early once obligations are met.
Any other questions of the developer? Otherwise, motion to go back to regular business.
So moved.
Second?
Jim and Barb, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're back to regular order of business. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the term sheet.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second. Barb and Kathy, a motion and a second to approve the term sheet. Michelle, vote.
It should come up, there we go.
Came up quicker that time.
Okay, please.
Passed unanimously.
All right, very good, thank you. Thanks,
It's
everyone.
interesting with this new system, the audience can't see how we're.
Tell me about
Do we
That
intend
that may
to,
change.
we gonna report that out then, given that it's silent to the audience?
So that's what Lisa will reveal the results, and if anyone abstains or objects, she will know
She
who
would.
does that.
And convey that as well?
Yes.
Very good. Item number 3, consideration of possible action on term sheet with Green Bay Real Estate Investment LLC for 901 Main at 901 Main Street, 907 Main Street, and 1913 Main Street. Tax parcels 9-48, 9-47, and 9-46. Yes, mouthful.
Lots of property.
Yeah.
All right, so this deals with the property, let's call it on the curve of Main Street, between Main and Cedar, right across the street from Whitney Park. This project contemplates building a multifamily unit, 3-story mixed building, about 1,600 square feet of retail space on the first floor, 21 and 2-bedroom market rate residential apartment units on the second and third floors, and then 20 underground parking spaces. This one has a little bit more challenge to the site in terms of some environmental remediation that needs to take place. But we feel it's important, again, we own these properties, so there's no value to them, to get this moving. Enhances the landscape. In your packet, and the agreement provides some renderings we feel is a really sharp and good addition in terms of the architecture and what it provides. Getting some high-performance elements in terms of the building design. And once again, expanding our range of real estate products that we're offering, especially in this neighborhood, near downtown. Right now, again, as I said, there's no value on the property. When all is said and done, this project should assess out about $2.3 million. There is no tax increment district right now. As I mentioned before, this would be contemplated as part of the Whitney Park, new TID that would be brought before JRB this summer. The developer has requested a TIF incentive, again, based on primarily some of the environmental work that is there, cost of construction, and getting the project moving forward. The nature of the TIF incentive here is to look at conveying the property to the developer, $19,900. I believe one of these parcels was block grant. And so some of the, not these?
No, prior.
Okay, so we may have to switch one of these before the development agreement. Block grant covers one of them, so that block grant fund needs to be paid back in full. With that then, the value of the property is about $93,000. The PAYGO is looking at obligation of the city for the first 4 years to allow for all the available increment. And that's primarily to deal with getting soil out of there. There's an expense where I can refer the developer on the total amount of cubic yards of soil that actually needs to be removed from the site and disposed of, which will probably cost in the neighborhood of $150,000 to high-end $200,000 to get rid of that soil.
Has there been a phase one done?
Phase 1 and phase 2, and that's the reason where we're at today in terms of finding that information.
All right.
What was the contamination?
I'm going to defer, where's Matt? Matt's the brownfield specialist, so I'll tell you, there was a scare about Aaron Brockovich contaminant. It ended up being just, what do you call it, what standard contamination? I'll let you.
Yeah, really,
She's not in the
we did have the
Yeah.
Aaron Brockovich scare, but it was just a scare. We did some additional testing and it came back not nearly as scary as what we thought. We did our phase 1 and our phase 2. We also did a supplemental investigation on top of that. There is some contamination. We've got historic urban fill throughout the community that has some PAHs. That's an issue here. So we'll probably have to do some remediation, maybe some removal of soil and placement of that in appropriate landfill.
What's
locations.
PAH?
It's a very long word that I have a hard time pronouncing.
Aromatic hydrocarbons.
There you go. You're more of a brownfield
First time I-
Yeah, that's right.
Don't ask me to draw the hex diagram.
Total cost of the cleanup, did you tell us, sir? Roughly the total cost of the cleanup?
I think we're looking at 180.
Yeah, it was the initial estimate, and depending on pricing, somewhere we feel probably 150 to 200, but 180 is a pretty good number we feel comfortable going in with. So, as for the incentive, it would allow for all the increment the first 4 years, and then 80% thereafter until a cap of $540,000. Again, with the timing, that pencils out to about a 12-year payback. So,
The
yeah.
assessed value is 2.3 million?
Yep, I mean, it will ultimately depend on the
Right.
rents charged, but again, our assessors had a chance to look through this, and we feel comfortable going with that number. Again, the developer's here if you wanted to ask any questions or discuss more proposals. Again, this is just a term sheet to get some arms around parameters for a full development agreement that will come back for you in the next few months.
Would like to open up more to that, one question.
Sure.
Move to.
Barb?
Second.
Barb and Jim, all those in favor, someone saying aye?
Aye.
Market analysis, tell me about it.
2 for 1 matinee special today. Oh my God. The way that this is being structured to be at a market that is just a hair below where City Deck and Metro are. So you look at your 1 and 2 bedroom rents, neighborhood of $950 for a 1 bedroom, to $1,350 to maybe $1,450 for a 2 bedroom, just below where some of these units are. but still hitting a very similar tenant profile. They're pet friendly, they're urban friendly for those who are walkable. Obviously, we have the off-leash dog area across the street. That'll be a huge part of the type of tenant who wants to live in this place. Underground parking too, and that can't be understated for marketability of these kinds of units.
Questions? Any questions?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Entertain a motion to go back to the order of
So
business.
moved.
Second.
Jim and Barb, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, go back to the order of business. Guess I would entertain a motion.
I would move to approve the term sheet.
Second?
Motion by Jim, second by Barb, to approve the term sheet. Any other discussion? If not, we shall, oh. Soon it comes up. Shortly. Okay,
Motion carried unanimously.
all right, very good, thank you, good luck.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for your work.
Yes, without doubt. Consideration of possible action on request by Green Bay Theater Company for a 6-month planning option for the property located at 227 East Walnut, 101 North Adams, 109 North Adams, tax parcel 12-119, 12-122, 12-118, which is the Shower and Schumacher property, the old Shower and Schumacher property.
That is correct. And I think Wendy Townsend stepped out of the room for a minute? Okay. Shift here for a moment. So, as you know, we've been discussing Shower and Schumacher for some time in terms of, we've had some fits and starts moving forward with the development project down there. We have a proposal for you today. It's a planning option with Green Bay Theater Company. They've partnered with Mr. Paul Belschner of the Base Company, so I believe is here today. I can speak on behalf of the development team. What they are seeking is a planning option to go forth with exploring the viability of a project and looking at potential, and I can let the developer explain a little bit more their plans for what they'd like to see there, but really just to allow for some time to do some due diligence to see if they can make it work. I think one of the things that we like about this proposal moving forward, it's not contingent on finding some parking. It's not a contingent on any other properties nearby or acquiring or securing those. You're taking the building. It is what it is, and I think there's an opportunity to look at that. And we've had some discussions about the uses both short-term and long-term for this property, but feel good about the proposal and the option. I know there's been talks about before tying this building up for periods of time. They've requested 6 months option. I think feel good about that. You don't feel if that's too long or to tie it up, to tie it back. But I think 6 months provides some time to know. I know there's been concerns about tying it up. If not, I think would be appropriate for a 3-month with another 3-month extension, whether that can be done administratively or have to come back. But I feel like what we have, again, a lot of people interested, but really this team has been one to step up and bring it forward to the table. And so I would like to, I guess, kind of respect somebody, taking the talk and turning it into walk and moving forward with the proposal. So with that, we would support the option. Again, developers here, I don't know, oh, you came back. Okay, if there's anything else you wanted to add. Wendy's really, between Wendy and Ken and our team, have been working with potential clients and interested parties, trying to get this moving. So she could answer maybe more specifically than I could about moving forward. But with that, we do support the option.
Okay. Wendy, you want to give us your perspective?
Yeah, we've been working with this organization for a little while, and they've been very cooperative. They've been putting a lot of time and energy into this proposal, and have put a lot of thought into it. And like I said, have been very cooperative and forthright with their intentions with this building. So, and we've been showing it, but this is the only one that has brought the option together first. So we felt that it was important to bring it before the RDA and give you an opportunity to review it.
I don't see any reason to open up the meeting, but if committee wants me to, we can. I'm comfortable with it, but it's up to you if you get more information.
I think it would be a good idea.
Okay.
Not to open, but with regards to the option, only because we've been down this road before. My fear is that if we just do a straight 6-month option,
Okay.
it'll be January, then we'll have this potentially building back. I hope not. I would really prefer if we could do a 3 and a 3, potentially with the extension of that 3-month.
Right.
You know, I've all confidence that they'll be able to work with us, but just in case something were to happen, I'd prefer not
And
to.
our developer has no problem with 3 and 3? Or we need to ask them?
We haven't asked
We'd have to
them
ask
yet.
them.
Entertain
What's
a
the
motion to
trigger
the meeting.
point then,
Pardon?
Kevin, for the extension? 3 months will go by really quick. They have a capital campaign to undertake. That would be,
I think maybe something, a 3-month, if there's a way we could eliminate a trip back to RDA, and if you'd allow us our discretion,
Staff?
that the progress is being made, just so you don't have to make a trip back, and we can see, look,
That's good.
funds are being raised and they're made on progress, then that just maybe eliminates a little bit of the bureaucracy. But again, if you know in 3 months, like, things aren't going,
Right.
then we can be fine, but if not, then we can continue on. And
That's good point, good idea.
so I'd say if you'd recommend it to do a 3 and 3, allowing the
Staff.
executive
You
director
make the
and
decision.
staff to make the decision.
Okay. I'll entertain that motion.
Okay, so I would move that we would approve the request by Green Bay Theater Company for a 3-month option with a 3-month extension up to the judgment of staff,
Right.
whether or not to move forward on that next 3-month extension.
Right.
Is there a second? Barbie, the motion, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to what Barb said. All right, let's see. So we're,
Motion carried unanimously.
okay, full speed ahead. I got a question for council. Jim may have to leave at a certain point in time. I'm not sure when you get to number 12, which is his subcommittee.
310.
310 to be exact. Since our committee is really only 6 right now, with one addition coming, is 3 a quorum?
Put you on the spot.
I don't know. The other option is that we move 12 up.
I would recommend moving 12 up.
If unable to finish, we've talked about a special meeting on Friday. We may have to just wait to finish business until Friday.
Okay.
And we can continue.
Okay, so the
Because
bottom
we have a
line,
quorum on Friday, because
Yeah.
I'm out of town.
Yes.
but we have everybody else.
We do.
I
Yes.
think we have everybody else.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll just keep moving, and if we don't get to it in time, Jim, then we'll do it Friday.
So it doesn't matter if I leave. Just kidding.
Okay, no, I just want a ruling on that quorum. Thank you, that makes sense. All right. Number 5, consideration possible action on a 6-month lease agreement with Lime Bike for the property located at 227 East Walnut, 101 North Adams, and 109 North Adams, tax parcel 12-119, 12-122, and 12-118. Again, it's just.
Yep, nope, it's the same parcel, it's the same parcel, but a little different use in the interim while the planning option is.
Planning options in place.
Yeah, I
It's
understand.
intro.
All right,
Yes.
So I can take this one.
Yeah.
all right, please.
So in May, Common Council approved an agreement with Lime Bike to provide a dockless bike share service for the city of Green Bay. They intend to launch this 350 bike fleet here sometime this summer for the public use. We see this as a really great urban amenity and a transportation resource to the community. It'll improve our quality of life. They came to us and asked, as we gear up to do this launch for this bike share in this community, do you have some vacant storage space or a warehouse that we might be able to use temporarily? We've got the Shower and Schumacher building leased for another 6 months, so we thought we would offer that up for them to use in that interim period. We have a lease to protect us, to protect them. We also have a 1 month, 30-day out. So if we get a development proposal together, we give them a 30-day notice, and they will they'll exit the building. So that's our proposal.
There's no compensation to the city.
We're just asking for $1.
Okay. All right.
And Green Bay Theater Company's okay with this?
We didn't run it by them, but it's during the planning option is when this would be.
So, planning option, they're not really, Green Bay Theater Company's not actually doing anything to the building. It's just like, look, we're not gonna go out and market it to anybody else. What we'd have to do is maybe amend that option to say, look, currently you'd be okay with us having the bikes in there. This is one of the things, look, we have the building, we're maintaining,
Right.
doing some basic maintaining.
Right.
Having somebody put the bikes in there in the interim until we find potentially some other space, or like talking about Badger Sheet Metal, Shipyard, or other properties. I mean, Ken's doing a great job right now because actually we don't have a lot of inventory in terms of properties to put things in. I think one of the benefits, and we talked a little earlier, is having that there. There's actually some activity there of people coming in and going. I mean, we've had break-ins there before.
Check on
just
things and.
to get, some view of, eyes in and out of that place in case anything is wrong. And again, just, I think Line Bike being a startup, there's gonna be a learning curve figuring out how many bikes we need and where they're needed, and to allow them, really providing a good service for us. Like I said, it's not like we're putting extra cost into
Right.
shower for any of this.
Any liability concern for the city?
The lease should take care of it all.
Okay.
Can you explain to me what a dockless bike is?
Yeah, so are you familiar with the bike share systems in Milwaukee or Chicago?
Yes.
Where you go up to a station and you grab a bike and you drive it around and then you return it to a different station. Here, we're removing the station, the dock.
Okay.
You use a smartphone app to find a bike. It has your information, has your credit card information in there. When you find a bike, you just unlock it. It's locked up on its own. And then you can ride it, and as long as you're riding it, it'll charge you. It's $1 for half an hour. And then you drop it, and when you're done with it, lock it back up, and it's done charging you. So it's dockless. It can be used anywhere in the community.
That's.
GPS-based.
Yep.
Okay, I entertain a motion for a 6-month lease agreement with Line Bike.
I would motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Jim, second by Kathy. Michelle? Any other discussion I should ask, that's okay. All right.
Say that.
Motion carried unanimously.
Okay, excellent. Good luck. Consideration of possible action on the following Redevelopment Authority properties associated with North Webster expansion project. A disposition of tax parcel 7-50, 7-377, 7-332, and a portion of 7-231, and temporary easements on tax parcel 7-581, 7-580, 7-580-A, 7-231, 7-322, and 20-23-A.
So these actions are all part of the North Webster widening project.
Oh.
Parcels we've acquired for years and held, knowing that this was coming down the pike. So this is the point now where the city actually will acquire these from the Redevelopment Authority. The total value of this is the $51,615. And those monies will be dispersed back into the accounts where the money, either block grant or neighborhood enhancement, where the money came from, so.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Move to approve.
No, I disagree.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
have a motion by Barb to approve,
Second.
second by Jim. All those in favor, we shall vote. Okay.
Carried unanimously.
Okay, very good. Number 7, consideration with possible action to borrow $1 million, $1,500,000 for a neighborhood enhancement fund.
This will be,
Can I start this out?
so this is talking, as we mentioned before, our Neighborhood Enhancement Fund, which has been a long, successful tool of the city for development, redevelopment, residential properties. We are looking, we're running low on funds, and I think we would like to, or Ken would like to talk a little bit about the program, what it's done, how it's been used, and what we're working on right now, and how we'd like to move forward in the future. So with that, I think I have a clicker.
It's right
still.
there.
Oh, Chris got it.
All right. How's it going, everyone? I'd rather sit at the table, but
You can sit right here.
that's fine.
Nope, all yours.
Thanks, Kevin. Not kick the director out of his chair.
That's right.
Feel the power. Yes. All right. So just a quick little history of the Neighborhood Enhancement Fund for those who might not be fully, the new members here. Yes, the program was created in 1999 for the primary use of blight removal. And then in 2015, we added a few new programs for new home development, beautification projects, some marketing, and then some administrative costs. Just looking at the programs here, the main goal still is targeting the key properties in our established neighborhoods. And to do that, we use a priority rating system, which we rank any properties that might be suggested by an alderperson or that staff, through our own exploration, find in the neighborhoods. Once we determine to acquire these properties, we'll bring them to the RDA for approval. Once we do purchase them, then we decide whether or not those properties need to be demolished or if they're something that might be able to be rehabbed and sold. If we do demolish a property, we offer our New Homes in Your Neighborhood program, which we offer these lots to developers free of charge and a grant up to $20,000 to develop on those sites. And then for the homes that possibly need to be rehabbed, we put those out for RFP, seeking developers. We basically offer those at a low cost that instead of having that property maybe go to a flipper who might just do the basic, paint and get, quick money, we want to make sure these properties go back as, a quality home the way it should be. So we're making sure that, electrical, plumbing, everything is updated the way it should be. So we offer them at a lower cost, so then the developer can put the rest of that funding into developing a better product. Let's see here. So another program we have, let me go back here, is the Conversion Grant Program, which is designed to basically offer money. We grant up to $10,000 to convert multifamily homes back into the original single-family homes that they were intended to be. With that, we also offer a $5,000 loan for anyone who would be occupying the home if they do the rehab on their own, or if they occupy it once it's completed. As some of our new programs here also included some city beautification, which I have some pictures later on in the slides here of some median plantings that we've done, public rotating art, as well as working with some local nonprofits for some of our properties to create some community-based project areas. Oh, sorry, I keep jumping back and forth here. So I guess with that, those are kind of our fun programs here. And then kind of the down and dirty, behind the scenes part of this funding would be our property maintenance and utilities, as well as administrative and marketing. The property maintenance, all of any of the properties that we do acquire through this program need to be maintained while we own them. So with that, we privately contract out lawn maintenance and snow removal, as well as any kind of lot cleanup that might be associated from storm damage or any illegal dumping, which, believe it or not, people see vacant lots, they want to leave their garbage there. You know? So we do our best to make sure we get that all cleaned up in a timely manner, and we privately contract that out. With these funds, we also had approval to for a part-time compliance inspector for the to help with our inspections for the some of the rodent issues that we've had throughout the city. And then also this fund does fund half of the real estate specialist position, which is my position. And that actually started as a part-time position and has now kind of evolved into this as we've gotten more properties, and now as we're selling them off, we're adding new programs and working to move these as quickly as we can. So that our marketing then for that, I have the slide later on that kind of shows what we've been doing for that as well. So just a brief look here at the allocations over the past, well, since 1999. It's fluctuated throughout the years. You can see from 2011 to 2013, there wasn't any funding for the programs. At that time, we kind of just maintained what we had. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm looking at 2014, kind of kicked back in. And in 15 is when we really decided to kick it again. And that's when my position was created then.
And this was not all borrowed money, right? Some of this the city council kicked in?
There was some years where it was actually put in the budget. I think that 200,000 was actually in the city budget. Otherwise, it mostly was, I think, bonded or state trust fund was used for borrowing.
And what's been, it says in here that we've put $9 million into this?
Since
Over
1999.
since 1999. What's the payback?
Yeah, and actually I will be getting to a slide here that does show that, yes. Yep, no, exactly, because that's important, that we're not
Right.
just throwing the money out there. We have those numbers to show you here. But I guess just to start to show some of the projects that happened prior to that 2014, some of the successes through the neighborhoods here, you can see, just eliminating that blight and being able to get a nice new product into the neighborhood, stimulating, growth in our neighborhoods. The bottom corner there, bottom right-hand corner, the conversion grant, we had a few of those prior to the 2014 mark. Community policing centers, we have two of those, one on the east, one on the west side, that were, some of the properties were acquired with this funding to make those projects happen. Some of our other partnerships here, this was the Crook Street partnership. We worked with NeighborWorks and
Brown County Housing Authority.
Brown County Housing Authority to redevelop this whole block face here. And through that, and I'll show you some maps here, you'll see some of our primary focus areas in the past kind of focused around this area. So looking at the numbers here, this answers to look at your question here, the 9.8 million of total allocation so far. We've purchased 183 properties at a cost of this 7.8 million. Of those, we put 119 back on the, back in the tax roll at a new tax value of 8.5 million, or almost 8.6 million. So you can see that, there is a cost to acquiring them, but when we put them back on there, we're increasing the values.
The other cost that's not on here, which is hard to quantify, is sometimes we take these properties out, there's an inspection cost. We've been there multiple times with inspection, multiple times with police calls. All of that cost to the taxpayer, we don't have that on that either, but those are also, a number of the properties we took out were nuisance properties, so.
Okay.
There's a value to that as
You're
well.
right, there's value
As well, it
because
appreciates
you
the value
eliminated
of the
the
surrounding
cost.
Oh,
neighborhood.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, so of the properties we currently own, we have 64 right now that Either we have out for RFP or looking for redevelopment. Luckily, right now, we don't have any houses. For the last year, we've been moving those. So right now, we're all pretty much just vacant lots, other than Shower and Schumacher, some of the larger development, commercial real estate. But so looking at that, looking at, again, the property maintenance, you're looking at about $700 per property. So that's where another one of those expenses, per year, per property per year. It can add up when we have these properties, so we do try to move them in a timely manner, or try to come up with creative ways to utilize these properties, either selling them to neighbors or creating them in green space so we can minimize some of this property maintenance. And then just two other numbers here, 28 conversion grants and 3 in progress right now, as well as 23 demolitions in the last 3 years. So again, removing that blight from some of our neighborhoods. So this is just a look at the front. I apologize, it's a little small up there. I can get printouts after here for you if you need. But just kind of a breakdown of our spending for since 2016. Kind of a new accounting system we implemented to really keep track of where our numbers are at. But really the main thing on here, and now we have the $88,000 left in the fund after allocations and encumbrances that we've already accounted for. This number will go up now that we have those DPW properties going back on, so about $140,000 right now. So this map shows properties that we've purchased and then have put back on the tax roll, so sold or redeveloped. And you can see the dark pink area, or the brightest pink area there is really the hot pink. Yes, there it is. Fuchsia.
Oh, okay.
So you can see our primary focus areas are kind of the near downtown neighborhoods, but we do reach out to other areas in the city as well. And then this was our map of our currently owned properties. So kind of a hot spot you can see there, the yellow is near that Shipyard area. So an area that's just ripe for development right now. And it just so happens we have some properties in that area as well. And these maps are easier to see in your packet as well, but just kind of lays out exactly what we've been doing with the properties. We have the little wrenches show properties that have been either rehabbed or part of the conversion program. The little house symbol is new homes that have gone in. You'll see some green space, some collaborations with parks departments. So here's the east side. Again, we extend out further than just the near downtown areas. On the right-hand map there, you'll see down in that Imperial Lane neighborhood, we own some properties. Those are some of the areas that we're looking at right now as well. Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay, yep. So just some demolition pictures, rehabs that we've done, architectural plans.
We have the plans, but we provide to people who are interested in building.
Correct. We are developing three to four more of these to put into a packet to offer to developers for our lots. Here's some of the projects that have gone through the New Homes in Your Neighborhood program. The Navarino townhomes are online now.
Yes, beautiful.
Some other projects that some of the sites were either purchased by Enhancement but used other fundings for building, or our Chicago Street design there in action. And then some upcoming projects. City beautification. We've bottom right corner there, Green Bay Bicycle Collective rents our 4th Street garage right now. Overwhelming success over there. It's kind of the buzz of the neighborhood. We have our marketing strategy. Our new website has been a crazy help. People actually are able to navigate and find our properties. We've also been going out to, we did the Brown County Home Expo this year. That also created a big push for, right after that, we actually sold off 3 of our properties. So that one really helped us out. I guess that brings us to what we're asking today. We're just looking for approval to request from the state trust fund, $1.5 million. But we're looking to do it in 3 increments, so that way we aren't incurring that,
Right.
The
the interest
until
on
we need
those.
to borrow
So-
from it.
Could you go back to that slide that shows the cost and return? There, well, there, okay. Again, a couple of things. One, like Cheryl said, it also has saved on nuisance calls, because now these properties aren't a nuisance anymore. And then secondly, by having this very nice piece of property in the middle of the neighborhood, it encourages neighbors to improve their property. So what's that worth? Because the tax value of that went up. So I mean, there's more to the dollars than what shows there.
A good case in point on that, the Chicago, 1100 block of Chicago, we worked on 4 different projects in there. Within that same year, there were 4 or 5 houses that all started redoing their siding, or you saw
Right.
landscaping happening.
Exactly.
So it really does, this fund really does help our neighborhoods and really.
I just wanted to comment that I think it's really fiscally responsible to do it in the 3 increments, so that we're not paying interest on the
Right.
whole amount. Take it out when you need it, and just, give you approval, but do it in the 3 different time periods. I like that a lot.
And with that too, I will be doing, reporting when we do, request more funding. So after the first 500,000, I'll come back to you with a report showing what we've done with that funding. And then as well as once we spend that next amount, just to kind of keep everyone in the loop, so.
Just curious, what's the state trust fund interest on?
I can look it up. I think it's right, it's either 4 or 4 1/4.
And can you talked a little bit about how this was funded in the past? And this used to go through the budget on city council?
I think, okay, I mean, every year was different. So it depended if an alder brought something up, it might have come at bonding time, or sometimes the mayor would put it in the budget, and then it would be increased at budget time, so it
And
really
then you might
varied.
have had staff to spend the
Right.
money and maybe
Right.
not, yeah.
Right, so it varied.
Whatever motion you make, so the city council grabs, right?
Right,
Good.
correct.
Right, because we had a loss, I thought, last year. We were under, wasn't there a $2 million budget deficit?
Well, this isn't going to be bonded.
It's be borrowed through the state
Right.
trust.
Borrowed,
fund. It's borrowed through the state
It's
trust. fund.
borrowed. So it doesn't, it will impact the levy as far as the bonding, the debt service, right? But it's not like putting that all in the city budget. I just want to, I'm not, you know what, we got better budget people out there that can explain that.
That is correct. It still would be your debt service. It would be paid over time. And as you get, like Cheryl was just saying, I think that 1.5 million back in 15 was bonded for. But otherwise, in most cases, previous years before that, they had put it through the general operating budget. Your comment about the 2016 spending more, having more expenditures and revenues, that was an intentional spend. 2015 ended with a large surplus. So in 16, they had a 1.5, I think, or $1.4 million approval of overspending budget in 2016. And that's why you saw expenditures over revenues. So I kind of, several different questions going on here at the same time, but does that help?
Very good.
That helps.
Barb, it sounded like you were gonna make a motion.
I am, I would like to make a motion that we approve.
Brian, I'm sorry.
I do just have a couple questions, if you don't mind. The first is, when we talk about that $1 million commitment for the shipyard,
Right.
is any of this necessary to fulfill that obligation?
Well, yes, we're looking at 100,000, I believe, per year.
Correct.
300,000 basically, for the next 3 years, out of enhancement.
The rest would be CDBG?
CDBG and home.
No, okay.
And private dollars, right.
Okay, and has there ever been, I see that there are, what was it, a few years ago, there was some that was restricted for conversion grants.
Yep.
Or sort of, you carved out a piece of that.
Correct.
Otherwise, are these funds generally available to the entire community?
Yes, they're citywide, they're
Okay.
available citywide.
And has there ever been a discussion about the merits or the value of saying, you know what, we're gonna allocate some for citywide but some that are maybe neighborhood specific. And the reason I'm asking that question is I think, sometimes, when you're throwing popcorn out, right, I feel like the impact might be minimal compared to saying, we're gonna completely transform this neighborhood and make a more serious commitment to this neighborhood.
Well, I think the Shipyard's an example of that. We'll designate dollars towards that. We haven't really done a neighborhood approach to that. We do that a lot with our block grant. But if you look historically at where we've acquired, it's really been, the greatest need has been our near downtown neighborhoods. We have a few that are on the outskirts. We've done a couple in 12 maybe, or one. So there hasn't really been a need for the most part, because if you really don't have the need, you don't request the funding.
Right.
So, I mean, right now, we kind of do that, just the need is greater in the areas you're probably thinking about.
So is that
This
need though,
shows that.
yeah, and I saw that. So is the need though determined based on who approaches you versus we're gonna come to you because you don't even know that this exists?
Kind of comes from everywhere. It either comes from aldermanic input, staff look at areas that we're working within, a nonprofit might come to us. So it comes from a lot of different areas.
Okay, thank you.
And then each property is ranked with a
Yes.
certain number of
Right,
points.
I think
The
you're
higher the
right.
point level, the more
Right.
likely to.
In the past, we've had alders that requested properties and we're like, it really doesn't meet the point criteria, and have not purchased those, so
Okay.
we try to look at those.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bert?
So when any of this is sold, does it go back into the fund? Do you replenish the
Yes,
fund?
yes.
Yes.
That's the way you replenish it, so you have 64 properties that are currently owned, and once those are sold, those go
Anything
back
that,
into the
yeah, if we
fund?
do get any proceeds from those, they would go back into the fund.
Sometimes we deed the property.
Yeah, sometimes
We buy
we
the
do.
property, remove it, and we deed that property over, and in exchange for that, we get a $150,000 house.
Okay.
So, that's kind of the payoff for the program, is we get the new assessment value on
All right, so I'd like to move to approve the borrowing of the $1,500,000 for the Neighborhood Enhancement Fund. Do you want me to specify that it will be in three $500,000? Okay, in three $500,000 draws as needed.
Motion by
Second.
Barb and second by Jim. So we shall vote. Oh, any other discussion or comments?
Do we want to add that we would get regular updates, or is that just
Oh,
standard?
that's it. I mean,
Okay.
you can't talk to somebody every month.
Gary, did we want to take 12 out of order?
Yes,
Yes, we do.
Yes,
Because
you
we
do.
don't have Melanie on Friday.
Yes, I think we should do 12 just to make sure it gets on the council agenda.
Okay.
Do we need a motion on that?
A motion to move 12.
Passed unanimously.
Okay, pass it. I need a motion.
I move to amend the agenda and move 12 up to before.
Second.
Yeah, motion and second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Number 12. Jim, your funding committee met on June 4th.
Right on. And we did Melanie and I, and we looked at staff recommendations. Is this going to be one motion on both block grant and home funds?
I think it could be, yep, because it's going to council for.
Yes.
So we looked at the recommendations of staff for both block grant allocation and home funds, and asked various questions, looked at comparison from prior year to current year recommendation, and largely accepted staff's recommendation. With that, so we have grant allocations recommended for approval of $1,156,751, and home allocations of $651,102.
And the bottom line, our allocation from the federal is higher than expected, CDBG.
Yes.
What are they on? What are they on? Good. Good.
The biggest increase came on home funds, actually. So with that, I make a motion to approve staff's recommendation.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion by Jim and a second by Barb to approve the recommendations of staff from the Funding Administration Subcommittee. All right.
unanimously.
Okay. Are we gonna be able to get through at least one more item before general state, number 8? Can we get through it? We got 5 minutes? Okay, let's try it.
All we need is a motion to approve.
Well, we got.
Wait a second. Okay.
Number 8, I'm sorry, consider as possible action to purchase 158 North Maple Avenue, tax parcel 4-95, the neighborhood enhancement fund.
Ken's gonna be.
Yep, that would be me. All right, I figure let's start spending some of that enhancement money now that we have it.
They don't have it yet.
Yeah.
Well,
Close.
right, we're almost there. Anyway, so this property is right across from 159 North Maple, which we acquired last year and is now under redevelopment. This is a 6-unit multifamily home, small unit. Right, exactly. So when we talk about this neighborhood and you're looking at the densities, this is what you get. You have 6 units jammed into this house. So we're hoping that if we can acquire this property, we can bring that density down. Whether that be, bringing it down to maybe 2 flats or single family. We'll put it out for RFP and see what kind of response we get from that. But we have toured the house. There is still a lot of character in it. Some original built-ins, original hardwood, woodwork. So it is still kind of it's a neat property. So we're hoping that if we can acquire it, we'll be able to get another nice product here to complement some of the other successes we've had in that neighborhood. And to just kind of build on that catalyst that we've been working towards.
I see the priority rating was 90 out of 100?
Yes, yeah, the only reason it scored 90, lost 10 points because there's tenants. So with that, we could either buy them out or become landlords for 6 months or their lease agreement, whatever is longer.
We're required under the
So,
state to
right.
work with the tenants. We don't have to relocate them and provide them benefits, but we have to give them a time frame in order to move.
Displacement.
So,
Is that a legal use of Weber Grill on the second floor deck?
no, it is not.
No,
think so. That's-
also garbage cans can't be in the front there, but
Yes.
we're looking past inspection issues right now.
Okay.
Maybe 6 of them?
All right, move to approve.
So the offer is for 129.9?
129.9, correct.
Okay, motion by Barb to approve,
Second?
second by Kathy. Mr. Holt?
So you actually don't have enough money in the fund right now because there was $88,000 left, right?
The
That's
offers
why
are
this-
contingent on this meeting and
Oh, it
council
was.
approval.
Yes.
Okay,
Correct.
all right.
So
Yeah, that's why that's after that. Yeah.
Okay.
Ken hasn't added, but we actually are gonna talk about it at the 4 o'clock finance meeting also. It's on the same agenda today
Correct.
also.
Okay.
Passed
All
unanimously.
right, very good. Please declare it short, Jim. Give you 2 minutes.
Yeah, do we have another quick one?
Yes,
Okay.
we do.
Takers.
Consideration of possible action.
Don't be
related-
shy, John.
We have a 5:35.
No need to be concerned. I made you a PowerPoint.
Oh. 2-minute PowerPoint?
No, these are just additional photographs of the property so you can see what's going on. We acquired this property on 535 St. George Street from the Parks Department, I'm sorry. They acquired the property for the creation of the East River Trail. We wanted to keep it up because it's really a nice property. It hasn't been taken care of for a long time, but it's got really good bones. So we put together specs, went out for bid, and the low qualified bidder offered to remodel the building for $115,090. So, and the project briefly includes a brand new roof. The roof has never been changed, it's just been added onto over the years. We have to tear out a lot of concrete, tear down the garage. We have to move the garage forward because it's on the trail property. The interior walls need to be touched up throughout the whole home, the flooring, all the carpet is going, hardwood is getting restored. If you look at the bathroom on the second page, it's really got the fly tile and it's so awesome. that we're just rerouting it and putting in a few touch-ups. And then new electrical furnace, water system, and we're keeping the side,
What are
basically.
you hoping to sell it for afterwards?
115, we think we can market it
Oh.
for.
Wait,
Like we did on 435 Newhall, we acquired that with neighborhood enhancement, and that was a 900 square foot. We converted that, sold it. We have a happy family in there now. This is a bit larger, it's a 3-bedroom, and we expect to sell it for about 115.
What the
It'll be
market
right
rate
on the
is?
trail.
I think it is.
Yes.
Have
And
you
it has-
worked with the remodel shop?
Yes, I work with them quite often,
Oh, okay,
so I trust them.
okay, good.
Entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
second.
Jim and Kathy. Number 9.
So that's the secret, get Jim in a hurry. You won't ask too many pointed questions.
So here's the question. If I leave, how can you have a motion to adjourn?
You can adjourn without a
We're
quorum.
going to adjourn right away here.
You can't pass anything.
Entertain a motion to adjourn. Jim?
So move.
Second.
Motions by Jim and Kathy to adjourn. All those in favor, signify by say aye. Oh, did we vote already?
It passed
Oh, I'm
unanimously.
sorry. Okay. We're adjourned, Jim. We're
Thank you.
one minute over your goal, but
All right,
we're
thank you.
adjourned.